Fantastic. A very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leila Shukran. I'm Professor of International Law and Director of the University of Portsmouth's Democratic Citizenship theme. Today, we are delighted to welcome our colleague Semih Sagmanli for a new Research Futures webinar. Semih is going to address a very topical issue, that of recycling of plastic. PlastiCity is a very nice title, which applies to our city here, Portsmouth, but generally to a number of cities. Semih is a Senior Research Associate at the Department of Strategy, Enterprise and Innovation. He's working on the Interreg 2C's PlastiCity Project, something he's going to explain to us. He's completed his MSc in Marketing at UCD Smurfit School of Business in Dublin, Ireland, and he's also a PhD candidate in marketing at the moment. So his research interests focus on consumer behavior change, value co-creation, and consumer technology engagement. So Semih, we're absolutely delighted to have you with us today. Without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the nice introduction. Should I start now with the slides? Okay. Just a second, please. Can you all see the slides? Wonderful. Okay, thank you for the nice introduction, Leila, and I would like to welcome you all for this webinar. Hopefully you will find it interesting and informative. Okay, let's start. Yeah, today I'm gonna talk about the PlastiCity project under Interreg 2C's development scheme, and it is a project mainly focusing on circular economy. And as you may know, we have the problem of lost plastics in major urban areas. And what we aim to do in this project is to come up with reverse logistic options to minimize the lost plastic problem in urban areas. In this project, 4 cities are focused: Ghent in Belgium, Den Haag in Netherlands, Southend and Douai in France. Before I continue with the slides, I first want to show you our webpage. I think I need to share the content now. Can you all see the webpage at the moment? Wonderful, thank you. So this is our webpage, and you can see all the information at the webpage. And if you need to contact us, if you want to join our newsletter, you can do all in this webpage. And please check it for the new updates, latest news. So just to continue the slides. Sorry. Okay. Whoops. Sorry. Can you see the slides now? Okay. Thank you again. Okay. What is the main aim and objectives of this project? As I said before, only up to 20% of the plastic is recycled at the moment, and what we aim is to increase this recycling rate up to 50% in urban environments at the moment. And while trying to achieve that main aim, we want to induce behavioral change for people or companies to increase recycling rates. We also want to create new value chains, produce new products with high recycled plastic content. In some sense, we want to co-create a value. And talking about co-creation of value, we want to improve business activities. And we also aim to add value to the society by creating employment opportunities in the circular economy framework. In this sense, the PlastiCity project actually adds value to the technical, societal, financial, and environmental values of the larger framework. Here I would like to show you a nice video prepared by our partners in Ghent And sorry. Yeah. I need to share it again, just a second.
Urban areas in the Interreg 2Cs region are one of the biggest producers of plastic waste.
Can you see the video now? Wonderful. Please let me know if you have sound problem. I can increase the volume.
In the European Union. In those urban areas, you do not only find post-consumer waste, but also tons of commercial and industrial plastic waste. These plastics often are perfectly eligible for recycling, but they don't always find their way into the right recycling scheme. PlastiCity wants to find these lost plastics and develop technical solutions that will enhance the local circular economy by creating new value chains. Overall, we want to develop replicable strategies and solutions to increase recycling rates in urban environments from 20 to 30 to over 50%. By unlocking the use of lost plastics as secondary resources in the urban environment. To do so, the main objectives of PlastiCity are 1. Mapping and analysing the quantities and qualities of industrial and commercial waste in urban areas. 2. Understanding the behaviour toward recycling of the various actors in the plastic value chain. 3. Developing innovative technical solutions for logistics and reprocessing of plastic waste. 4. Demonstrating replicable solutions for lumping plastic waste in 4 cities via a lab-scale recycling line in a mobile laboratory. 5. Inducing behaviour change by stakeholder surveys, workshops and sensitisation. 6. Creating business activity and employment in the circular economy by local urban plastic hubs. The PlastiCity approach can be extended beyond the case study regions and thereby help to further increase the plastic recycling rates in Europe and beyond. In our mobile plastic recycling laboratory, PlastiCity will demonstrate how to find the best trade-off between quantity and quality. The first step towards a new local plastic value chain is understanding the status quo of the plastic waste flows in the case study cities. This starts with a thorough plastic waste characterization campaign that is paired with collection tests with the innovative new waste collection methods. Afterwards, lumping tests are conducted to find the optimal solutions regarding quantity versus quality for the local waste streams. Furthermore, pre-treatment and reprocessing tests are conducted in the mobile recycling lab to optimize the quality of the possible recyclates. Characterization of reprocessed material will allow us to estimate possible future applications that could be part of a new value chain. Combined with research on the socio-economic behaviour towards recycling and new business models, we strive to create urban platforms for plastic recycling in our case cities. Our plastic hubs will enable innovative ways to engage actors by creating a local network of partners from all over the plastic value chain. This will create new business activity and employment in the circular economy. PlastiCity. We give lost plastics a destination. Find out more on plasticityproject.eu and stay connected via our newsletter.
I will share the slides again. Do you see the slides? Wonderful. Okay. Okay, now I would like to talk about the goals of the project, what we are doing and what we are trying to achieve in the near future. This graph here actually summarizes the main goals of the project. So we want to map the actors in the value chain. Then we want to develop logistics in order to transport plastics, pre-treat the plastic waste and mechanically recycle plastic waste and distribute in the cities, or take the waste from the cities and redistribute it. So accordingly, first goal is the identification of actors, and by carefully understanding the loop, we realized that there are 9 important actors in our value chain. Owners of plastic waste management companies, logistic companies, sorting companies, recycling companies, product makers, designers, and also some governmental or policy-making parts like policymakers, R&Ds, universities, and non-governmental organizations. So here, this slightly represents the circular loop that we are trying to put our model. In this respect, of course, mapping of actors is a very important task, and what we aim was to visually map all the relevant actors in our 4 cities. Here I just put the example of mapping of actors in Ghent, which is our main partner. And as you can see, the green dots represent one of the most significant actors in the value chain, logistic companies, or the other red dots, they represent designers and product makers. In order to do this, we use GIS modeling software, geographical information software. Another important objective of this project is to understand the behavior change. And in order to understand behavior change of the companies, organizations, or policymakers, let's say, we decided to apply a model on Adzen's famous theory of planned behavior. And here you can see that the model is taken from Adzen, but we added certain moderators to the model in order to understand what different drivers and barriers affect organizations' plastic recycling rate. After we are done with this model, I prepared different surveys, online surveys in Qualtrics, and before we published them and asked for data collection from our city partners, I conducted an extensive pilot study in Portsmouth. And in that pilot study, we realized that the validity of the surveys were quite good. The questions were easy to understand, and the timing was really good in terms of how long the survey takes. However, unfortunately, due to impact of COVID-19, as we can all realize, we had some delays, let's say, collecting the data, and we are still in progress of collecting data on our behavioral surveys. Now, this is an interdisciplinary seminar, so I'm not going to talk about only the managerial or business part. I will also give you some details about the technical part of this project. Another important goal of this project is to understand the plastic waste flows in the commercial and industrial sectors. In order to understand that, first, we aim to perform a screening survey with all sectors. Then based on that survey, we want to narrow it down and have a large-scale collection survey in the relevant sectors. And following that, it is really important to understand the characterization of waste. And this graph actually shows the main steps in the characterization of waste stream. This can be applied to plastics as well. Of course, the PlastiCity project is thinking and coming with innovative collection methods. But in addition to that, it is also important to understand what specific waste from a certain company can be combined with a specific waste from another company in order to come up with best lumping strategies for best recycling possible. Here in the PlastiCity project, we want to reach something like this in order to have the best possible option for recycling for organizations, companies. Okay, now this is probably one of the most innovative things in the PlastiCity project. In this project, we developed a mobile recycling lab. The main objective of the mobile recycling lab is to identify the polymer and test various materials. Here, the mobile recycling lab consists of two main parts or sections. In the first section, plastic waste is pre-treated, shredded, and after everything is done, it is dried for further use. And in the second stage, it is characterized and reprocessing takes place. Here, before I move, I just want to show you a video about our mobile unit. If you can give me a second, I will share it. Can you see it? The new video? Wonderful, thank you. Just one notice, most of the sound is in Dutch, so if you don't hear anything, don't worry, because there are some titles, which is more important than sound.
Okay.
En waar je dan deze kunnen aanschuiven, dan ook een rioplast. Of is het dan? Ja. Ja. Nog niet gekoeld wordt, maar als een doos ons materiaal niet ontvangt. Daarmee is dan... ja, het maakt niet gelijk.
Fundamenten maken om de kandidaten. Als je wil, kunnen we misschien wel. Dat is een stuk.
Als je nou verdenkt als gaan snappen.
Nu is het een beetje opgezien.
Dat is een ander systeem. Van de rollen gaan we ervoor zorgen dat je zeker tot.
Okay. Okay. Now, I believe you see my slides again, right? Yes, wonderful. Okay, this was the video I wanted to show you. Although I'm not expert in this area, but if you have any questions, please send me after this webinar, so I will try to answer them according to your questions. I mean, yeah, but as you saw, this is a very innovative lab, and what the PlastiCity project is aiming to send this lab to the developing countries in the future, hopefully. And in the project before COVID-19, we were planning to send this mobile lab to participating cities, Southend, Douai, Ghent, and The Hague, but unfortunately, it is in Ghent. It is in Ghent at the moment, and we cannot move it to other cities at the moment. Okay, after a bit of technical details, I would like to continue with the business part of the project. And I would like to say another goal is to engagement of actors. We want to increase the engagement of actors in the value chain in order to develop better business opportunities and identify new value chains. In some sense, we want to again create co-create value between different actors I saw in earlier slides. And by doing that, we aim to design new products which are made with higher recycled plastic content. And another objective of the engagement is to create an urban platform. And the urban platform is like a digital environment that brings different actors in the value chain, and in that environment, different actors can share their ideas, exchange ideas, and co-create value to come up with better business plans and overall ideas in the overall circular economic framework for plastics. Okay. We were discussing the negative impacts of COVID, but there's also positive impact of COVID for this project, because in literature, I read some papers discussing that in some parts of the world, use of PPEs increased like 300% in a couple of months. And in that sense, if they are not produced with recycled plastic, it is like a huge negative impact on the environment. But recently we produced two important PPEs. The Hague City Council produced visors with used plastic, and Ghent University, there's a big plastics lab in Ghent University. They produced manufactured body ears. In addition to those, we are also discussing the best potential for the recycling hubs across countries and increase recycled plastic products. On top of that, as I said earlier, in terms of societal benefit, this project created more than 400 jobs in terms of producing new products with recycled plastic. Of course, you can induce behavior change. You can recycle products with used plastics, but how are you going to transport those plastics, those waste? This is an important question. This is why we also aim to come up with logistics plans. And in that sense, it is really important to understand the situation of the local area. In our case, it is the 4 cities. And what are the possibilities? What are the constraints? Constraints can be geographical conditions, financial conditions, or technical related conditions. However, whatever the case is, it is important to understand and focus on those 4 main stages: collection of waste, separation of waste, sorting, and reprocessing of plastic waste. Here, the flow diagram shows you a simple way of how to deliver from one stage to another. However, it is not as easy as it looks, because we need to discuss when it is best to shred the product. Is it better to pre-sort the product, or should we come up with a post-sorting of the specific waste, plastic waste? Also, it is commonly discussed in the literature as well, but I also want to say that contamination of plastic is a very huge problem, and in developing countries, including US, some councils, some cities stopped sorting of plastic waste. They just burn it because of the contamination problem. They just don't want their workers or the overall society to negatively impacted because of this contamination problem. In addition to the logistics option, transportation option, we also made this table to compare 4 optional transportation modes. In that sense, especially in city centers in Netherlands or Flanders area, e-cargo bikes are great opportunities. They may not carry so much item at once and you need to charge them, but they can carry the specific items carried in the canal up to city borders, and after city borders you can bring those items to larger trucks, maybe in that sense battery electric trucks. So it plays a quite vital role to understand the different opportunities or constraints of different transportation modes. Now, after I discuss the goals, I want to give you some information about what we have done up to this point. First of all, we prepared a replicable strategy report, and in that report is more than 100 pages. It's a long report, but it is very useful for policymakers, decision makers, companies, or even single consumers, I would say, because it gives you the idea of what we have done and what can be done to increase recycling, plastic recycling, and how can better business models be achieved in a overall circular economy framework. In addition to that, we also prepared a scenario report, and in that report, what we discuss is simply, we discuss the current situation of 4 cities, and we also discuss how can we improve the situation in 4 cities. Finally, we prepared 8 different surveys, online surveys for plastic ecosystem actors. In that survey, some of the questions are same or similar, but there are some distinct questions to identify, let's say, the difference between a plastics producer or a waste owner or product designer and a recycler. Okay, currently, of course, our partners, they may be focusing on other things, but I'm gonna tell about what University of Portsmouth at the moment is focusing on. We are mainly focusing on 3 activities. First of all, together with our partners, we are focusing on workshops. Again, unfortunately, these workshops were supposed to be face-to-face in 4 different cities in local language, but we decided that webinars at this stage is a better idea, and we will mainly use Mentimeter to understand different drivers and barriers for plastic recycling, and different actors in the value chain will join those webinars so that we will have a grasp of idea of what different types of industries or actors think about plastic recycling. So again, data collection for behavioral surveys, this is in progress. Hopefully we will have some data to implement in our model. And we are also doing simulations, logistic simulations. We are already done a simulation for France, Douai, and we will do this for other 3 cities as well. And here on the right-hand side, you see a simulation plan for The Hague. We haven't done it yet, but we are planning to do something similar to that. I think this is all from me. Thank you very much, and please don't forget to visit our webpage.
Thank you very much, Semih. That was really interesting and very informative.
Thank you.
I know we are receiving questions now in the chat box, but I have a few questions for you because I'm unsure everybody's familiar with the concept of circular economy to start with. So in your presentation, there's a lot to do with the circular economy. So can you explain that? What's the objective in terms of participating to the circular economy, and maybe start with what is circular?
Yes. In contrast to the linear economy, in linear economy, you have a product, you use the product, then it's gone. In circular economy, you have a product, you try to get the maximum value by circulating it between actors. So if you use a plastic product, you try to convert it into, how do you say, not virgin plastic, but reusable plastic. I'm not technical expert, so I'm trying to select the correct word, but if I show it on the graph, it will be better. So this is like a circular economy. Here you see virgin polymers. So what we aim is to minimize those virgin polymers. So we aim to use this closed loop and try to increase the recycled plastics in total. And as I said in this example, these are all done with the fully recycled plastics. So as far as I know, no virgin plastics used in these two products. Yeah.
That's great. Thank you very much, Semih. In this regard, how does it impact, and you've partially responded to the question already, but how does it impact the supply chain then?
Well, considering the supply chain, I think I read some, well, the problem is at the moment, supply chain, I mean, the demand for virgin polymers is increasing again because of the contamination problem. It negatively impacts what we try to do, but as we come up with different projects, I think we can increase the demand for recycled plastic, and it will increase the supply chain on a positive side towards our side, instead of supplying virgin polymers and destroying the seas and environment, I would say.
That's great. Thank you so much again. So it's an interdisciplinary but also international project.
It is definitely international. It is 2 seas project. So it is like south of England, north of France, and Flanders area and Netherlands. So in the UK, our main partner is Southend, and we are the main research partner, I would say, University of Portsmouth, and our main partner is Ghent City. We also have another research contributor, University of Ghent, who are more expert in the technical field, I would say.
That's great. So you alluded to that when you presented your findings, but it seems that you'd like to replicate that at a larger scale, maybe including developing countries as well.
What we aim is to first increase the plastic recycling in those 4 areas. Of course, this is the main focus of the project, but in the future we are looking for how to increase this in more developing countries, not developed, but developing countries as well. This is why this mobile recycling lab plays a key role. It is not, as far as I know, it is not hard to carry. Only some expertise training is needed to use it, but as we saw from the video, it can be done, and you don't need huge facilities to do that. It's just one container, maybe 2 containers, and maybe you can fit, of course, after COVID, you can fit maybe up to 10 people to work in containers. So it's like a lab, but takes only maybe one of hundreds of a large recycling plant. This is why it is so important and practical in real life scenarios, I would say.
This is certainly very creative, and as you said, very practicable in real life scenario. We've received a question from Johnson. How does the face mask come into the picture? Are face masks, could face masks be considered as plastic? You're muted, Semih.
Again, I'm not an expert in that area. It is what the HAG, our partner in the Netherlands, did. But as far as I know, they did it with use only recycled plastics from bottles, and this is the key importance in our case. This is what I would say.
All right, that's fine. What about the collaboration? Because that, again, you alluded to the collaboration with the city here in Portsmouth. What's the plan?
Well, in plan, actually, we are now at the stage of producing webinars for workshops, and following that, what we aim to do is to, after we prepared some stuff, after our partners collect data, we want to come up with a model to understand the plastic behavior change for plastic recycling. And after that, we will write a report on it. And on top of that, of course, we are also in collaboration with University of Ghent to provide them business data, and they provide us more technical data. And with that technical data, for example, we will produce our simulations. We will do our simulations based on that data.
I have a more sort of research-oriented question for you. It's very interdisciplinary, as we understood. So
Yes.
what's the difficulty working, or on the contrary, not a challenge, but an opportunity, but pros and cons working in a very interdisciplinary environment? Because if I understand, your background is more commercial, marketing, etc.
My background is fully focusing on marketing, consumer behavior, but I can honestly say that before starting this project, I did have probably very little knowledge about plastics. But once I start working with other people, reading reports, looking at the data, you get to understand what plastic recycling is all about. And I would say at the moment, it is not a challenge to work with technical people or business people. The challenge is the COVID-19, unfortunately, because we had to postpone almost all our tasks, including workshops. I mean, we have 5 working packages, and working package 1 is all about surveys and writing a report based on those surveys, but we had to postpone the report. And working package 3 is mainly focusing on business models and workshops, but those business models and designing new products part were supposed to come from the second workshop, design how to improve design with the recycled plastic, but we had to postpone it because of COVID-19 restrictions. And these are the major challenges, I would say.
Of course, I understand. How many disciplines do you have in your team?
Well, I'm mainly focusing on marketing, but I'm also looking at the simulations and logistics as well. We have marketing, simulations, more plastic engineering, this type of, I don't know how in total, but these are the main, and also business, and business development can be another scheme, because we are trying to develop, we have a PhD student working on business development together with our partners in Ghent City. They are working on circular economy, how to implement business, how to position companies on the value hill diagram in the best way possible. So in the value hill, we aim to come up with circular design, more durable products, and better products and network organization. So in that sense, everything is collected to connected to each other, let's say. So surveys, once we are done with surveys, it is not done. Surveys will lead us how to connect our ideas, findings with the workshops to write the report. And more technical findings will help us to understand whether the answers on the surveys match with what companies answer on the technical survey, let's say.
That's good. Excellent, Semih. Thank you. We have a question from Gloria. Is there any plan to address contaminated plastic in the project?
Sorry, across what?
Is there any plan to address contaminated plastic in the project?
I don't know, maybe, I don't know, but I can ask, I don't know.
It's not yet clear. All right. Now we have a comment from one of your colleagues, I think, Virginie. As Semih, I'm working for PlastiCity as a PhD student working on circular business model, and I want to complete Semih's answer on the face shield, the mask. It came into the picture because as part of the PlastiCity, partners will also develop new circular business model within the plastic value chain in total. The first one that the partners have started is the face shield, as there was a huge demand for it in The Hague in the Netherlands. Excellent. So you're also working on mask face shields in particular. That's great. Well, Semih, thank you so much. Do you have any other comments or any other things you would like to point out? I'm conscious of time.
Well, as I said, if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to contact me through email. I will try to answer them myself. If I cannot, I will ask them to the expert in our project, because this is a huge project and everyone has expertise in some fields, but I will be happy to get any questions you want. And I don't know if you share my email on the thing, but I can share my email. It is my name dot surname at port.ac.uk. If you can share it. So, and please go to our webpage and please join to our newsletter. It is quite important for us, and we are also hoping to get to know more about how we can improve things. So if you need to comment on anything, please feel free to contact us. This is the last thing I would say.
Fantastic. So our colleague Gloria kindly put your email in the chat box.
Yes, thank you.
Interested in reaching out. Semih, it's a pleasure having you here today. I always want to give the floor to young scholars. So that was, very interesting to have your perspective as a young scholar, and certainly someone very engaged, involved into an impactful project, as we say. I'd like to thank the audience as well. Let me see, maybe we have a last question. Oh, it's not a question, it's a comment. I'm going to read that before I conclude, just to make sure nobody's frustrated. So that's from Johnson, and he says, I'm from the Philippines. The Philippines is a top 3 plastic polluter in the world, and it has plastic sachet economy. The country still does not have an integrated circular economy framework. My question is, are there any plans of your project to be extended in Asia, since most of the plastic polluters are in Asia or from Asia? You responded to that, Semih, I think, before, but go ahead if you want to add up something.
Again, I didn't join that, but this morning my supervisor, also my colleague Virginie, who answered the previous question, they joined another seminar which was for moving these technologies to Bangladesh and Nigeria. So yes, our answer to your question is yes. We are thinking of moving this system to Asia as well.
Well, I can maybe add up on that, working closely with my my fellow theme director, Professor Steve Fletcher, who's director for sustainability theme. There are plenty of plans working on developing countries in Asia included. So I'm sure you'll get more information, and we'll be happy to share that with you. So thank you so much again, Semih. Thanks very much for this great discussion. Thanks very much to all of you, the great audience. I'd like to thank my team, in particular, Gloria, Banabi, her, Claudia, and Olga for the support. And I will see you next week for another really interesting and important discussion on businesses and human rights. It relates to some extent to what we discussed today. Businesses and human rights with Professor Surya Deva, who happens to be the United Nations Special Representative for Businesses and Human Rights in Asia. So join me next week at the same time, same place. Thank you so much again, Semih, and thanks very much to everyone.